Deppin! Porrig! Another day, another set of rehearsals. Yes, it was the second half of semi-final 2 here on day 4 at Eurovision 2016. It's time to go around and discuss our winners and our losers. Are you ready? Let's do this! Deppin, why don't you kick us off with your winner, your number 1 from today?
Ukraine. I'm a convert. It was too jazzy and too sort of off-center for me, and right now it's smack in the middle of my core. It just took me to such a dark place. Visually, this is strong, and Jamala's vocals were just kind of simmering beautifully, and the hues of light and shadows and her gown right to her jewelry, everything about it was perfection.
Yeah, I was a fan of the song prior to this. I thought that it was really interesting, if divisive. I loved the mix of breaking beats, jazz, soul, funk, you name it. It seems to be in this song. But visually, I think this cuts off the extremes. The song seems less extreme now and more of a story, more of a historical narrative. Do you know what I mean? It makes it more accessible to the masses. I love the idea of energy and our roots. She talks, she's telling a very dark story about death in her homeland. And you see people, or the energy rather, kind of suck up from the floor into her dress and become a tree. It's a really lovely symbol. We come from the dirt. We go back to the dirt, basically. It's really quite touching. Her vocals were on point. She told us in the interview afterwards that she gets exhausted emotionally singing this and that she cries every single time.
Are you surprised?
Not at all, because you can feel that pain, you feel that anxiety, that agony, and yet it's still so touching and so beautiful. Like this is the only song at Eurovision this year where I almost had a little tear, almost. And I'm a cold bitch, so that says a lot. Porrig.
Yeah, it's a clean sweep for Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
They're my number 1 as well. Like, there's no other song today that you could justifiably put as number 1. And you said it's emotionally exhausting for her to sing, like even for us to watch and listen. It's just, everything just came into place because the staging was perfection. And so many artists came here this past week with staging that either too little staging or too much staging, but she used the whole stage, but it was to great effect. She was the only person on the stage, but she wasn't swallowed up, she didn't get lost. The story was just told so well, and it was just so powerful. And that moment where she sucks up all the light, that is just such a powerful image, and people are going to remember that.
Yeah, I honestly think this could win Eurovision. I think that in a sea of happy songs, pop songs, this stands out for its darkness and its taste level, the level of taste here.
Yeah, the taste level.
So many of the LEDs seem wasted or random. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, you've got some stars, you've got some icebergs, whereas her, every single thing has a message and contributes to her story.
And the thing I like about it as well is that even though, for me, for instance, I can't sing along to it because it's so... It just doesn't even have a pattern that I can work with. The beauty of that is that it creates a mood, so you just get a sense of what she's talking about. It's not always about singing along with an artist. Sometimes you just want to experience the song, and that's what Jamala does. You experience it, It takes you to another level, really.
It's curious. She said in the interview she was only performing at 14%. That's 1/4.
I know.
So, when we get the other, 86, this is going to be crazy.
Right.
Now, look, let's move on to our number 2, our runner-up for the day, Porrig.
From deadly serious to fun and poppy, it's Bulgaria's Polijanova is my number 2. She just came out and she just slayed the stage, basically. She came out, she was dressed like a Starship Trooper. She looked really modernistic and futuristic. The staging was quite simple staging because for the bulk of the performance she didn't have any backing dancers, but it was very cleverly done. She had these kind of holograms behind her and they were doing choreography that kind of mimicked her choreography, and she's been getting criticism when she was doing the preview parties in Riga in particular, where she was nearly like she was in a mosh pit. Whereas she had these moves, they were kind of, it's crude to call it a chicken dance, but it was like a sophisticated chicken dance, but it fitted in with the mood of the song. And her vocals were on point, and it's a song that's ready to hit the charts. and it's got appeal to a mass crowd. So I don't think she's going to fall down like she did in 2011, and I think Bulgaria are heading straight to the final.
I totally agree with that. I could even see this placing in the top 5. I think it is fantastic, and there are some more surprises in the bag. We actually bumped into her dancers and the friends of her dancers at the hotel that's near the Globe Arena, and they said you haven't seen anything yet. Her backing vocalist will appear on stage at the end in a similar costume as Polly, giving us a full-on Matrix effect, except they will not have lights that light up. So make of that what you will. In any event, I thought this was so mainstream. This was very, I keep saying The Matrix because it's like Blockbuster almost. It's simple, and yet there's something about it that seems so big. Like, it's a sweet song, but it has this big sound. And I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I know that I love this. I know that Polly delivered it well. The dancing, I love what you said, the chicken dance, because it is a little kooky, but it's still somehow mainstream. It's like, it's so Polly, because she toes the line between eccentric and between mainstream better than anyone here. It's funky, it's sassy, and it's simple. I love that the background is not wild and crazy. It's like static, basically, like static on a TV, but for whatever reason it works. It's just been so carefully thought through. You're engaged from the first note to the last.
Is that your second favorite?
Oh yes, I should say Bulgaria is my number 2.
My number 2 has to be Georgia. And I'm giving it my number 2 just because my expectations were just below base level, and they have shot up to the point where it's just... I was speechless. Georgia is psychedelic. I feel like I'm being transfixed into another globe.
Like you're on LSD.
Oh, I didn't want to say that. But yeah, literally, they're tripping on acid and they're bringing their A game. Georgia is phenomenal.
Yeah, I've got to say, this is one of my honorable mentions of the day. It kind of grew in my estimation, because the music video actually gave a hint that they could do something spectacular. They were able to use that funky sound to create a funky visual in a laboratory. And here they've done it again. This looked expensive. This looked Britpop madness, tripping on acid, insert drug of choice. Like, it was just unbelievable.
And super mainstream. And what I love about it is the bridge that you love.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my God, they went all out crazy on that. It was just...
And the staging then, it just popped, because in a day where we've had blue and red, and more blue and red, and more blue and red, they came out...
Slovenia, baby.
Hands off, please.
Yeah, and they came out with their pinks and purples, and then they had this really cool effect where their faces were kind of... It was like symmetrical, like they were folded over, so he had 2 noses and 2 hats, and it really made you feel like you were on some sort of drug.
Literally.
But because the song itself is so weird and out there, but yet the staging is weird and out there, but somehow it made the song mainstream.
I agree. And what I love about it as well is that, I mean, if you don't like it, you're not going to like it. But the thing is, if you're borderline, you'll definitely love it. Yeah. And this is another good example of staging, the right staging, elevating a song.
And I want to give another shout out, an honorable mention to Slovenia Manuela. I really loved this. I know y'all are going to make fun of the dancer acrobat who's spinning around a pole. She told us in an interview that he is the man she's casting off, and he's now in his dizzying circle. But I thought the first 2 minutes of this, before the dancer came on, were just really, really nice. She sounded great. She looked amazing. We spoke with her, and she's doing this praying motion. Alay means peace, I think she told us. And so she's like searching for peace in the madness of this relationship. This is really touching. I thought she was so good. Like, we said this was the weaker semifinal, but it's actually not. It's actually in many ways the stronger.
No, but I mean, you know, 2 minutes out of 3, it's still a third, which, you know, we could... I would give that shout out to Belgium. Laura Tesoro brought it today. The dancing was on point, the cues were great, and the energy was just explosive.
I would have to second Bulgaria. Or not Bulgaria.
Belgium.
Belgium. Because before she came to Stockholm, there was so many haters. Like, even the famous Kate Ryan had shot her down. And she didn't care about that. She came out on stage, she owned it, full of confidence. And you knew from the moment she came out that she had something good.
Yeah.
Because you could see it in her face. Her eyes, like, she was, as you say, smizing. But she was smizing, but she was grinning too. And the choreography, it was our first proper upbeat dance set, because well, Azerbaijan had it, but Miracle isn't really a song that you can dance to, and some others have their pretend dancers, and it just worked.
Youthful effervescence. We have all these serious women screaming about this, moaning about that. She's just up there having fun. She's saying, live your life, do you, and she does her we love you, Laura.
And placement matters. She comes in right after Albania. I mean, that is the best lift you could get ever. Bless you, darling.
I think I'm allergic to Belgium. I keep sneezing in her videos. In any event, we now need to wrap this up with our loser of the day, Debin.
But that's why I love you.
Oh. Yes,
I love this woman, but part of the reason I love her is also because I can be honest with her. And I have to say, Aneda Tarifa, your A game from H to T, but you need a new team.
It's not her fault. Listen, Albania is a small country. They don't have the infrastructure or the producers to put on something expensive and elaborate. I think she's done very well with what she has. That said, there is nothing on stage. It's literally a blue wall, then a red wall, then a yellow floor. But that's not her fault. I think we should just applaud her for her vocals. They were fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that you can't fault her on that.
She's perfect vocally.
She sings well, and she relates well. She's somebody that everybody would want to interview, everybody would want to engage with.
Biggest personality of Eurovision 2016.
Definitely.
Huge star in the Balkan region.
Definitely.
Huge star in Albania.
Huge
Miss
star on the
Kosovo.
catwalk.
Yeah, they all love her.
She kills it.
Done.
But she's completely wasted because the song, like, we've always had issues with the song. But we were saying that if she had the right staging, she could pull it off potentially because she has the voice. And her voice was definitely the best we've heard it since the FIK final back in January, December. Yeah. But the stage was just such a disappointment because it was some very pretty blue designs on the floor and you're like, what is going to happen to this blue? And you're watching and you're waiting. The blue is turning gold. Oh, the song is over. Nothing has happened. Yeah, I don't get how it ties into the fairy tale because it is a very dull fairy tale going from blue to red. The stage was so empty. Like, she had a few backing singers, but they were like pushed way back in the darkness. Yeah. There was just literally nothing going on.
I think that my most disappointing act today was Denmark. It's a non-starter for me. I'm sorry. They look great, they sound great, but it's what they're singing and how they sing it. The stage is just empty. There's nothing to focus on. They play with their mic stands, but I'm sorry, you should play with your mic stand in private, not on stage. I want to be positive about this because they're very nice guys with a lovely message, but I think this will finish last.
No, I disagree. I think, you know what? Yeah, there's like a wide... No, I disagree. I think that, you know, you can pick and choose lots and lots of things, but if you only need needle and thread, why do you then need to kind of just get all these appliques and all these brochures and, you know?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about less is more sometimes and what's appropriate, you know? I think that they don't need all the gimmicks and they're good to go.
So you enjoyed their performance?
I really enjoyed their performance. I'm surprised you didn't.
Porig.
I think it's such a disappointment that... Well, it's a disappointment that Lighthouse 10 are the ones that are representing Denmark in the first place. Because they only won because Simone and Anja Nielsen split the vote in Denmark.
Totally.
And they didn't win because of their staging. They won because of their fangirls. Their Danish fangirls who are in Denmark and who will not be able to vote for them.
Yes.
And that staging is just... For Eurovision, it doesn't cut it because we complain about nothing happening for Albania. Pretty much nothing happened for them either. And the only reason that their performance was maybe slightly more diverting was because they did a bit of movement. They walked around a bit. They had these mic stands that lit up. But it was just like... It was like a charity concert or something. They didn't have any graphics. It was blue. And they were created for the purpose of making charity singles, and you can tell.
Listen, they stand on a box, but they need to think outside of the box, and unfortunately they did not do that. There was nothing new, nothing innovative. I'm going to leave it there.